Hey everyone, welcome to Watch It Paint It, and in this video I wanted to very quickly, might not be that quickly, but I want to talk about my favourite hobby tools. These are going to be my top 5 tools, and we could say we're drawing to the end of the year, so let's say of 2020, but I don't know how much they'll change. Maybe I'll do one in 2021 and we can review if my favourite hobby tools have changed. Now, these aren't going to be necessarily the tools I use absolutely the most. There's things like brushes, water, the paints themselves. Obviously, they're all falling under a sort of tool element, but these are the more obscure tools, the sort of things that I actually don't want to live without now I know they are in existence.
Number 5.
And starting with number 5, my 5th favourite hobby tool, at least this year, is the palettes that I use to do painting. Now, I've got a choice of 2 here. These are the sort of my dry palettes, and I've got my wet palettes. So I moved to wet palettes this year, and I don't use them all the time. For one, I live in the UK, and I don't find it particularly hot, or it doesn't dry my paint, and I paint very quickly, so I don't always need a wet palette. Now, having said that, there's a time and a place for them. When that one day of summer in the UK we get, definitely want it during that period. If I'm just painting a batch paint job, I want to keep my paint wetter for longer. So I've got wet palettes now, and I do use these occasionally, and they massively help me paint under those conditions. I've got the Army Painter one here and a Redgrass Games one. There's not much between the two. I enjoy using either one, whichever one's closest to hand. I'll leave some links in the description below if you want to check those out. And then the paint palettes I use the most are actually just Pringles lids. I did used to use other dry palettes, and I just found them tedious to clean, to get them back up to pristine condition, whereas the Pringles lids, my daughter actually loves cleaning these. You can just bend it, or you can hear it and see it, bend it, crack it. They peel off if you want to reset. Once you've built up enough paint, it gets easier and easier. They also look really pretty if you care about that sort of thing on the back, and then if you don't care, you can just throw them away. And the absolutely best part of the Pringles palette is every palette comes with a free pack of crisps, which is just absolutely phenomenal. So I'm a big fan of using these palettes. In my number 4 slot is a pair of nippers for chopping miniatures off of sprues. Now, this might just be bread and butter to most people, but I didn't have a pair of nippers for several years, actually, of painting miniatures. Now, the reason I care about them suddenly is I've moved to sort of Games Workshop, building my own miniatures, so I need to snap them off the sprues. And suddenly I realised that a crafts knife, and I have a very good crafts knife, is rubbish at nipping things off of sprues. I didn't realise that. Probably rubbish at a lot of things. I just wanted to avoid having to spend a decent whack of money, £18, whereas my craft knife cost £3 and the blades are nothing. So I just thought they were the same, but no. Nippers have changed modelling for me. They're so much easier. I have got cheap ones, guys. These are fairly expensive ones. Again, I'll leave links in the description below to my Citadel pair or Redgrass Games. There's different benefits to each. I think these are slightly better, actually, at being using. They've got longer point, easier to get in places, but these are more comfortable to use over time. So I'm really glad I've got both, and I do have them both next to me, and I pick depending if I'm going for a long session or just a quick nip. But yes, nippers are new to me, and I'm very happy I picked up some pairs.
Number 3.
For my 3rd hobby tool of this year is the Wash Wizard by Game Envy. This is a brand new product that's come out recently, and it's just, the idea is not to spill your washers. I paint using a lot of contrast paints, and so basically nearly all my paints are becoming washers. So this stops them spilling. I actually was painting at the kitchen table downstairs last week, and I couldn't be bothered to carry everything, and one of the things I just left upstairs was this Wash Wizard, and for the first time ever, I spilt my wash all over the kitchen table. Luckily, just on the kitchen table. It was incredibly easy to wipe up, but had that gone on the carpet, I don't know what I would have done. My wife would have killed me. But Wash Wizards are very cool. Again, there'll be a link in the description below if you guys want to check it out. They're just to stop you spilling your washers or contrast paints or paints, maybe, if you're really clumsy, but they don't tend to tip out instantly as soon as they hit the desk. But Wash Wizards were a great find for me this year.
Number 2.
In 2nd place, and guys, this is why I don't know if it changes that often, because I've been using a hobby holder for 3 years, for a very long time. I've got a huge number of them. You can actually, when I first got them, I was like, why would you ever need more than one to hold your miniature? And the reason you need more than one is because you have them like in use constantly on miniatures you've never finished painting, and then you misplace them, and it's ridiculous because you can just unscrew them and you could just have millions of caps, which I do have, but for some reason I keep them on the hobby holder and then I misplace the whole thing on forever. Guys, if you somehow haven't seen me using this on the channel, it's a miniature holder and you can spin it 360 while you're painting. It's got this handle for various grips. The best thing for me for the handle is just that you can have it on the table and it can take some of the strain without you ever pushing down on the miniature. And I use it, there's an infinite number of ways of holding this, and that every single time I use it I basically find a new way to hold it in which I can get to a part of the miniature. They have various ways you can attach things. This has just got putty on the inside and stuck inside it. You can screw on caps, it can take cork in here, various things like that. There's a whole bunch of accessories to add to it, including this handle that I use, but you can get bigger grips to hold it underneath. I haven't got one to hand because I don't use them very often. In fact, they're normally attached to my daughter's miniatures because they help her hold it. But yeah, this has been a staple for me for a very, very long time. I've tried a lot of different grips, but this has always been my favorite. It's the most versatile and it's not that expensive. So I'm a very, very big fan of the hobby holder. Again, links in the description below. This is just from Game Envy as well, I should mention. You can get the Wash Wizard from there as well.
And the granddaddy of them all, number 1.
And at number 1, completely out of left field, is the smallest, simplest thing I own in the painting world, I think. And what a difference the paint puck makes. I'll put a link in the description below. I can't even remember who this is made by. I think it is just paint puck. This is a game changer for me. So what you do is you take this paint puck and it's just a bit of a suction thing underneath. You simply just put it in your water pot. Mine happens to fit perfectly in all of my water pots. 6 in there, and you can just use it to help clean your brush. It just catches on these nipples very, very gently. It's all silicone, and you just brush it against it. These ridges here for your pleasure, and you just get the paint off so easily off your brush. And like I said, sometimes I go downstairs, kitchen table, I can't be bothered to carry a Wash Wizard. I'll never make that mistake again. But I can always be bothered to carry one of these, because sometimes I think I don't need it and I try and use a paint pot without one now, a water pot without one now, and I'm just wasting my life. These are game changers. Now, they do a large and a small, and when I first got them I put a large in the bottom and I put some smalls around the outside, thinking I could just scrape it up. Personally, for me, just needs one big one in the bottom, job done. These actually took me some effort to find a clean one. These are the last 2 clean ones I've got, and I've kept them for years in case I ever did another video on them, because at the time you could only get them from America and there was a bit of tax for me, so I wasn't going to buy any more anytime soon, only because of the tax. This is filthy, by the way, and it does clean straight back up very easily if I put some effort into it. So yes, number 1, the simplest thing, and until you've used one, it's actually not, when you use it, it's great. It's when you go back and you just don't want to live that life anymore without one. That's the real surprise. That's why this has hit number 1, because I was doing some kitchen side painting and I was like, wow, I'm never painting without one of these again. Link will be in the description below again, guys, if you want to go check it out. And that is my top 5 hobby tools of 2020, possibly ever. Will they be replaced? Ooh, stay tuned for next year and find out, guys. Let me know any of your favorite hobby tools in the comments below. And if you've got any questions, fire them away by all means. Thank you all ever so much for watching, and I will see you again next week. Familiar with wet palettes, they keep your wet